Hey everyone! Welcome to Anime Octopus. Today's fanfic topic is Naruto, the Western Sovereign. Disclaimer: the content here is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive in. Naruto stormed down the road to his home, his fist clenched so tightly that his fingernails pierced his skin, causing blood to drip from his knuckles with each step. His world had been abruptly and devastatingly altered. Flashback. Naruto followed the Anbu operative known as Cat into the council chambers. "Thank you, Cat. You may leave," Homura instructed from his position beside the empty Hokage chair. "Where is Tsunade Bakken?" Naruto inquired, raising an eyebrow. "And where is the Shinobi Council?" Silence. One of the civilian council members barked. "No, you be silent," Tsunade retorted as she forcefully pushed open the council doors. "I demand to know why neither I nor the Shinobi Council was summoned to this meeting?" Behind her, the Shinobi Council members entered, glaring at the elders. "You would have been biased in favor of the demon." An unfortunate civilian council member was immediately restrained by Tsunade's Anbu. "Tsunade, control yourself," Koharu called out, only to be met with Tsunade's ire. "You all need to be quiet now," Tsunade declared. The elders and the civilian council fell silent. "Before we begin the debriefing, let me make one thing clear: I am the Hokage, not you. If you disagree with that, consider relinquishing your council seat to someone more capable." The civilians clicked their tongues but remained silent. "Jinan Uzumaki, please provide a detailed account of everything that transpired during your battle with Uchiha Sasuke at the Valley of the End, as well as your perspective on the events leading up to it," Tsunade instructed. Naruto nodded and began recounting the events from his perspective, starting from the departure of the Sasuke retrieval squad from the village, through their encounters with the Sound Four, up to his confrontation with Sasuke at the Valley of the End. He paused to gather his thoughts and memories before describing his fight with Sasuke, making it clear that he had no intention of killing him. He concluded by explaining how he had managed to incapacitate Sasuke and how Kakashi had found them, leading to his own loss of consciousness. Unbeknownst to everyone, Danzo activated his stolen Sharingan, subtly influencing the perceptions of the civilians, some elders, and a few shinobi, altering what they heard just enough to avoid detection by Inoki's mind probes. "So, in essence, you inflicted unnecessary harm upon Uchiha-sama?" Haruno Mebuki questioned. "You should have been able to retrieve Uchiha-sama without relying on your tenant." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "When did I ever claim to have used its chakra?" he asked. "Please, you would not have stood a chance against Uchiha-sama otherwise, and you likely forced him to use the power of the cursed seal," another civilian council member interjected. "No, Naruto began, but was cut off by yet another civilian council member. "How can we trust your words if you willingly resort to using its power?" Naruto, normally calm, was becoming increasingly frustrated by the false accusations. "I did not." He tried to explain, but was interrupted once more. "I wouldn't be surprised if it has been controlling." This time, Tsunade intervened. "Be quiet. Naruto, please continue with what you were saying," Tsunade said, casting a withering glare at the civilian council. "Thanks, Ba-chan," Naruto said. "I did not use the Kyuubi's power until after Sasuke began using the power of the cursed seal." "Lies. You are undoubtedly under its control," Homura's accusation made Naruto lose his composure. He struck Homura in the face. The active shinobi present were sympathetic to Naruto's reaction but knew he had fallen into their trap. Danzo, the other elders, and the civilians smirked in triumph. "Anbu, take Uzumaki Naruto into custody on charges of assaulting an elder," Danzo ordered. "Hold on," Tsunade immediately countered. "Naruto, control yourself." "Fine," Naruto growled, his arms dropping to his sides, though his fists remained clenched. "Hokage-sama, by law, Shinan Uzumaki must be imprisoned for assaulting Elder Homura, Koharu said smoothly. If that old fossil had actually tried, he could have easily avoided Naruto's punch, Tsunade scoffed. Besides, it was you who provoked him. Regardless, the fact remains that he assaulted Elder Homura, Danzo said. However, if the council is agreeable, I may propose an alternative solution to this issue. Tsunade sighed, her focus wavering just enough for Danzo to gain a fleeting advantage, though it would not last long. Naruto, would you please step outside for now? She asked. Naruto nodded curtly and exited the room, casting a resentful glance at the elders and civilian council members. 13 minutes later. Naruto clenched his jaw upon hearing the final decision. Shinan Uzumaki, registration number, 012607. You have been found guilty of 1 count of aggravated assault against a fellow shinobi of the Leaf, assaulting an elder, and endangering your team during your last mission. You are hereby banished from Konoha. You will have 24 hours to pack your belongings and leave the village grounds, announced Koharu. Naruto's eyes widened in shock before he stormed out of the room. End of flashback. Slamming the door behind him, Naruto leaned against it, tears streaming down his face. He wept for the betrayal he felt, for the dreams of becoming Hokage that would remain unfulfilled, and for the promises he could no longer keep to his friends who believed in his potential. After what seemed like an eternity, though it was merely around 20 minutes, he ceased crying but remained in place at the door. Eventually, he drifted off to sleep. Later that evening, in the Hokage office. Get out of my office, you incompetent idiots. Tsunade roared at the civilians who had attempted to burden her with their paperwork. And take your paperwork with you, handle it yourselves. Her tirade was punctuated by further threats should she find their work on her desk again. Hyuga Hiashi arrived just as Tsunade's outburst ended. Hokage-sama, he greeted her, receiving a sharp, "What now?" from Tsunade, who softened upon recognizing him. Hiashi, what brings you here? She asked, her tone calming. I require your assistance with something, Hiashi said, taking a seat. His expression grew serious. I fear I do not have much time. Later that evening. Naruto stirred when he heard a knock at his door. He wiped his eyes with his sleeve and turned to face the door. What is it? He asked, opening it to find the Anbu member from earlier, Kat. Uzumaki-san, Hokage-sama has requested that I discreetly escort you to her office, she said, struggling to maintain her composure. She felt a pang of sympathy seeing him so distraught. What does she want now? Naruto asked, feeling her hand on his shoulder. Upon arriving at Tsunade's office, he was greeted by the familiar scent of sake, which he had come to associate with the 5th Hokage. You requested my presence, Hokage-sama? Naruto inquired, noticing Tsunade flinch at his flat tone. Yes, there is something I need to give you before you leave, she said, standing and walking to the wall where Naruto knew she kept her liquor. He had once swapped a bottle with one filled with oyster sauce, an act that had earned him the entire Anbu force on his tail, but the look on her face had been worth it. To Naruto's surprise, Tsunade reached into the hidden compartment, and he heard the distinct puff of a storage seal activating. She turned around, holding a large shoebox-sized package. Inside this box is a letter from your parents. I cannot reveal their identities, as I promised Sensei that I would only disclose this information when you turned 16, in 3 years' time, she said. However, I can tell you this, they would be proud of you. Naruto took the box numbly, his frame trembling. If it were up to the council, you would never receive this. But to hell with them, Tsunade declared, returning to her desk to retrieve a seemingly random scroll from a pile. Take this as well, she said, handing him the scroll and leaning in. You are not alone, Naruto. I will do what I can, but I fear the elders may undermine me. Remember, you will always be in my heart. Thank you, Obachan, Naruto said, tears streaming down his face. Tsunade embraced him and instructed Kat to take him home to pack. Once they had left, Tsunade summoned 2 more Anbu. Tori, Saru, I have a mission for you, she said. Next morning, Naruto, with the help of Kat, Tori, and Saru, managed to slip out of Konoha shortly after dusk, leaving a clone behind on their behest to draw off any pursuit. Now though he was alone, his escort having left to return to Konoha about an hour ago. The scrolled Tsunade told him to head over to a small village near the Land of Fire's capital. It said that there would be others who chose to join him. Judging by the speed at which he was traveling, Naruto estimated that he'd be there by dusk the next morning. 2. Suddenly, he received a rush of memories that made him stumble and plant his face in the dirt. Ow, what the hell? He said, wondering why he had memories of him being in Konoha after he left. How could I have been in Konoha when all I left there was a shadow clone? Naruto blinked a few times, a sense of enlightenment rushing over him. Suddenly he understood why he had memories, vague as they might be, of him beating up numerous people on missions when he was with his team most of the time. Is it true that shadow clones relay their memories when they disperse? Naruto exclaimed in astonishment, wincing as he reviewed the memories from his clone. Ouch, what was that for, Sakura? Naruto grimaced, touching the still healing injury on his chest. 1 week later, Naruto arrived at the village outskirts as the sun dipped below the horizon. The inn he had chosen was modest but comfortable, offering a homely ambience in contrast to some of the more unsavory establishments he had previously encountered. The room featured a bed, a small table and chair, a toilet, and a compact wardrobe. While it might appear Spartan to some, it was more than sufficient for Naruto. After a simple dinner of rice, fish, and vegetable soup, Naruto listened to the villagers' tales as they relaxed after a day's labor. That night, he fell asleep, pondering what the future might hold. A week later, Naruto was on the roof of the inn, working to repair it in exchange for his stay while awaiting the arrival of the others mentioned by Tsunade. It was midday, and he was drenched in sweat after replacing 50 tiles in the past 3 hours, with the summer heat only adding to his discomfort. Menma, lunch is ready, called the innkeeper. Coming, Naruto responded. A week earlier, he had used an alias and started wearing a mask, akin to Kakashi's, to conceal his distinctive whisker marks. So far, only the innkeeper, her husband, and their 2 daughters had seen his face. To his amusement, the daughters discovered that he purrs when his whiskers are stroked. As he descended the ladder, he heard a haughty voice behind him. This might not meet my family's standards, but I suppose it suffices for someone from the countryside like you. Naruto turned to see a young girl with dark brown hair and pale eyes, her expression reminiscent of Neji before their Chunin exam battle. A Hyuga? What is she doing here? Naruto wondered. I doubt you will find anything better in a village like this, Naruto retorted. Most of your clan would head straight to the capital given its proximity. How dare you? I am of noble lineage, and you are a mere commoner. She seethed. And why should I care? Naruto replied. In fact, it gives me even more reason to dislike you. The girl looked taken aback. Dislike me? Yes. You are obstructing me from my well-deserved lunch, Naruto said, crossing his arms while inwardly enjoying her reaction. Suddenly, the girl became contrite and muttered an apology. Had she blushed, Naruto would have thought she was related to Hinata. As Naruto entered the inn, he collided with someone, sending both of them sprawling to the floor. One-sama. The girl from before shouted. Watch where you're going, you. Just be quiet, will you? Naruto grumbled, rubbing his head where it had collided with the other person's. I apologize for bumping into. Naruto-kun? Naruto blinked and looked at the person. Hinata? What are you doing here? Tsunade-sama didn't inform you? Hinata stammered. I'm accompanying you. Naruto blinked several times, then replied, huh? 7 years later, Western Empire note, a name for this place is needed. Suggestions are welcome. Naruto sat at his desk, a towering stack of paperwork looming beside him. He grumbled under his breath, curse Kurokomo for making me the heir to the throne. He could have warned me about this mountain of paperwork before he died. Why did I agree to this again? His frustration was echoed by the 5 clones stationed at similarly burdened desks around the room. I shouldn't have taken on those thugs back then. When did my luck run out? Outside the room, the secretary watched with concern, considering whether to mention that they were ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, the real Naruto awaited breakfast in his private dining room, eagerly anticipating the culinary masterpiece Hinata would soon present. "I'm the luckiest man alive," Naruto declared, fully aware that Hinata could hear him. "I have a goddess as a wife, and she's an exceptional cook." Hinata's voice replied playfully from the kitchen, "So, you married me just for my cooking?" Their morning banter was a familiar routine, devoid of hostility. Moments later, Hinata emerged from the kitchen with a tray of delectable breakfast items, including pancakes, cinnamon rolls, and fried rice, part of their cherished morning ritual. Naruto would rise early and set up a number of shadow clones to tackle his work. Before long, Hinata would coax him back to bed. After an hour, he would wake to the enticing aroma of Hinata's cooking. Following breakfast, they would head to the training field for their daily session. Today, however, would be different. A visitor, someone who had joined their group after their initial encounter, knocked on the door. "Naruto, Hinata, there are some visitors from Konoha here to see you," Karen announced. Naruto groaned but stood up, heading to his wardrobe to get dressed. "And hurry up, you. Be quiet, or I will have to disable your vocal cords once more, Tuya-san," Neji remarked. "Is it permissible to enter, Hinata-sama, Naruto-sama?" "Yes, please come in," Naruto replied. As the 3 entered, they paused and laughed upon seeing Naruto and Hinata struggling to tie their sashes neatly. It was clear the maids would soon make their displeasure known. "You've been part of the royal family for nearly a year, and you still can't manage a sash properly?" Tuya teased, prompting Karen to slap her on the head for insulting her cousin. "Tuya, we rescued you from that wreckage, and yet you still haven't learned to moderate your language," Karen scolded her friend. "Bite me. I'm from Iwa, remember? Our habits are harder to change than seasoned Iwa Jonin," Tuya retorted. "And Neji, you've been with us from the start. When will you stop being so excessively formal?" Naruto chimed in. "Only when you two finally make me an uncle, Naruto-sama, Hinata-sama," Neji smirked, causing their faces to redden. Later that day, Naruto and Hinata entered the council chamber, where members were either already seated or making their way to their places. Unlike Konoha's council, which balanced civilian and military representatives, this council had a ratio of 1:2:1 for civilian, military, and allied representatives. Each faction provided 2 representatives: civilian affairs, ground forces, naval forces, and allies of the empire. Every member was selected from a list of nominations provided by their respective factions, and each brought their unique quirks to the table. Iroh, the head of civilian affairs, was a master firebender who used his fire abilities to prepare tea for everyone. Even those who typically preferred alcohol couldn't resist his tea. Izumi Kutris, chairperson of the Merchants Association and the Alchemists Association, was both feared and respected by Naruto. Known for her formidable combat skills and her ability to run 2 associations seamlessly, she was a force to be reckoned with, as Naruto discovered firsthand. Edward Whitebeard Newgate, an elderly figure who had once tried to recruit Naruto into his family, was now regarded as an uncle rather than a father figure, a relationship Naruto had chosen despite Whitebeard's persistence. Shanks' red-haired Uzumaki was a genuine relative of Naruto's. Once a captain in the Uzumaki merchant fleet, he had turned to piracy to support his clan members after their near destruction. Their first meeting occurred at Naruto's engagement party, where Shanks was overwhelmed when Naruto drank him under the table. Makarov Dreyer, the oldest human present, was the long-standing chairperson of the Association of Mage Guilds. His famous declaration, "I will never relinquish this position, even in death," reflected his dedication, although he preferred to avoid conflict unless his brats were threatened. His rivalry with Whitebeard over who was prouder of their protégés was a source of amusement. Nahenda, a key figure in the rebellion against a tyrannical warlord, later led the territory she had liberated until she resigned due to the burdens of administrative work. Naruto had negotiated for her territory to join the expanding empire. Representing the demi-human and non-human races, which were not part of the empire but maintained strong friendships with it, were Rimuru, Tempest and Legolas. Initially, Naruto and Rimuru had a contentious relationship, frequently clashing in debates while Hinata conversed with Rimuru's council. Despite their ongoing disagreements, they maintained a facade of indifference about their friendship. Legolas, an elf prince and son of one of the three elf lords, had previously served as the elven ambassador to the dwarven kingdoms before taking his current position. "Shall we commence the meeting?" Naruto asked. The doors opened and the guards announced the entrance of the two shinobi from Konoha, oddly though, adding an X before the Konoha. Naruto clenched his fist before easing the muscles, glad that the sleeve of his kimono was covering his hands whilst the silly mask he was wearing covered his face, despite itching like a colony of head lice. He couldn't curse the one who came up with this idea because it was his idea in the first place. He sent a small glare at Hinata, which she ignored, when he sensed her using the principles of the Juken/Juho style to massage the itching areas on her face under the mask. Ex-Konoha soldiers, Tsunade Senju and Jiraiya the Snail Nin? The announcer asked the white-haired person, who snapped a quick Sannin at him. Tsunade choked on her tongue and barely prevented herself from smashing the guard in the face. "That," the announcer remarked with nonchalance. Tsunade, who had been raised with strict royal etiquette, was taken aback by the informality of the guard's behavior. "Forget it, Blondie. By royal decree, the citizens of the Empire are expected to be less formal in the presence of the royal family," Whitebeard advised her. Tsunade bristled at being called Blondie. "Miss Senju, please proceed," Naruto urged, recognizing the need to defuse the situation before she became too agitated. Tsunade took a few deep breaths to steady herself. "Your Imperial Majesty, we have journeyed from the east in search of my last remaining relative and Jiraiya's godson," she explained. "And who is the person you seek?" Hinata inquired. "He is known as Uzumaki Naruto, or Naruto Uzumaki, according to the naming conventions of the Western lands," Tsunade replied. Naruto and Hinata exchanged a glance, engaging in a silent conversation. "What will you do if you find him?" Hinata asked. "We will request his return to aid us in rescuing Konoha from the tyrant who holds my people in an iron grip," Tsunade responded, with Jiraiya nodding in agreement. "This also applies to the two individuals who left with him." "And if they refuse to return to the east?" Hinata probed. "We will find a way to persuade him," Jiraiya assured. The council members observed them in silence until Rimuru broke it with a chuckle, which soon spread to the entire council and the royal couple. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked around, puzzled by the laughter. "I'm sorry, but what you propose is nearly impossible," Legolas said, addressing their unspoken question. "Why is that?" Jiraiya asked, only to be reprimanded by Tsunade for his lack of formality. "Because I doubt the populace would appreciate me leaving or involving them in yet another war," Naruto said, removing his mask. Hinata did the same. "Naruto. You are the Emperor?" Tsunade asked in disbelief. "It wasn't my first choice of career, but I didn't have much of an option," Naruto replied with a smile. "My predecessor wished for me to succeed him when he passed away just under a year ago." "Your predecessor?" Tsunade inquired. "Yes. The first emperor and visionary behind the unification of the Western lands," Naruto said nostalgically. "Black Bear Kurakuma Aizen, the first emperor of the Yggdrasil Empire, and a dear friend of mine." Naruto smiled as he reminisced about his first meeting with Kurakuma. Flashback, approximately 6 years ago. Naruto, Hinata, Neji, Karen, and Tuya arrived at the port town of Kodshir after a 3-week sea voyage. "Finally, we're off the damned ship and back on solid ground," Tuya swore, maneuvering her wheelchair down the pier toward the customs office at an alarming speed. "Tuya-san, watch your language," Neji chided. Whatever, she retorted. She's right, though. 3 weeks of nothing but waves and seasickness make solid ground feel like a blessing, Naruto added. Hinata giggled, and Karen chuckled. Let's find a place to stay, Karen suggested. Later that evening, the group of 5 gathered around a table to discuss their next steps. This place seems quite run down. I'd like to stay and help repair some of the buildings, Naruto proposed. While I'm not fond of being around people, I agree with Naruto, Tuya conceded. I suggest we move further inland. This town would be the first place any hunters would search for us, Karen offered. I agree with that suggestion, Neji added. All eyes turned to Hinata, who, feeling the sudden attention, blushed and considered the situation. I propose we stay here for a few days. We don't know this land or its people, so it would be unwise to travel further without understanding our surroundings, she concluded. The others nodded, acknowledging the validity of her point. Without proper knowledge of the local environment, integrating seamlessly would be challenging. This means we'll need to find temporary work, Neji noted. Tuya, you always wanted to perform with your flute, Karen suggested. Tuya initially seemed ready to protest but then remembered their previous conversation about her desire to play in front of an audience. That's actually a good idea, Naruto agreed. The others concurred, recognizing Tuya's talent as a musician outside of her genjutsu skills. What about the rest of us? Hinata inquired. I could assist at the local clinic, Karen offered. I'll look for work as a builder, Naruto said. I'll accompany him, Neji added. Hinata, how about you work as a waitress for the landlord downstairs? Naruto suggested. Hinata thought about it, then nodded. As long as the clients don't get too handsy, I can do that. Oh, you poor girl. You have no idea how drunk clients act. Tuya and Karen thought. A few days later. It didn't take long for news to spread amongst the population of Kochir of their arrival. Naruto and Neji quickly gained a reputation of being hard-working and trustworthy workers who did everything properly, despite a lack of experience, and were often sent all over the town to help the work crews that were desperately short on manpower. Tuya spent a total of 3 hours at the street corner before the local theater owner invited her to perform on stage. She later admitted to using a minor genjutsu to expedite her rise in status. Karen, the least recognized among the group due to her role as the doctor's assistant, acknowledged her ongoing learning curve in combating illnesses and diseases, particularly given the limited local medicines exacerbated by the current warfare. Hinata's situation was particularly notable. News of her employment at the inn spread rapidly, leading to a surge in the establishment's popularity. Her calm and reserved demeanor endeared her to most sober patrons, while those few who attempted to harass her were met with severe retribution from Hinata's newly formed fan club. On one occasion, when Naruto returned home and gave Hinata a modest kiss on the cheek, the fan club nearly attacked him, only refraining due to Hinata's fierce defense of Naruto. The local lord, having witnessed her actions, offered her a position as a family attendant, which she politely declined. At present, Naruto and Neji were engaged in replacing the rope on the dock's crane when the alarm horn sounded. Amidst the ensuing chaos, Naruto ascended to the highest vantage point he could find, the lighthouse near the docks, and surveyed the situation. Neji, the town is under attack. He shouted. From the west-southwest. Another army is approaching from the north with different colors. Neji nodded and departed to alert the others. Naruto then leapt from his vantage point to a balcony 20 feet below and from there to the ground another 30 feet below. He raced towards Kochir's walls to offer assistance. Upon arrival, he was barely able to announce his presence before a spear and a rudimentary helmet were thrust into his hands, and he was directed to man the ramparts. What is happening? He inquired. Not sure, grumbled a nearby militiaman, who, from the sound of his voice, appeared to be a sailor. Warlord Akamaru has breached our territory's neutrality, and Warlord Kurakuma has come to our aid, announced a guard captain. Kurakuma's forces will engage Akamaru long enough for civilians to evacuate to the nearby fort for safety. What will our role be, sir? A man near Naruto asked. We will defend these walls against any surreptitious attacks from Warlord Akamaru, no matter the cost, the commander declared. Over the next 2 days, the battle between Kurakuma and Akamaru intensified, with Kurakuma's lines progressively being pushed back. Hey, Neji, Naruto asked. Yes. Neji responded. What do you think are the chances that the town will survive this battle? Naruto inquired. Almost none at this rate, Neji sighed. Are you considering doing that? I will if necessary, Naruto replied. Desertion is punishable by death, a nearby officer shouted, having overheard their conversation. How would he know? Naruto muttered once the officer was out of earshot. Later that day, as Warlord Akamaru's soldiers brought up scaling ladders and breached Kurakuma's flank, the defenders were compelled to take cover due to the barrage of arrows and stones from below. Naruto and Neji, however, managed to intercept and return the projectiles. When the first soldiers reached the ramparts, it became evident that the inadequately equipped town militia was no match for the battle-hardened troops. Except for 2 individuals. Neji engaged the soldiers with considerable effort due to their armor and shields, while Naruto performed his usual exceptional feats. With Kurakuma's forces, one of the generals inquired, "What is that?" upon seeing a massive smoke cloud on the town walls. More importantly, "What are those?" Kurakuma asked, observing a group of figures who had managed to push back the soldiers at the base of the walls, effectively stabilizing his broken flank and continuing their assault on Akamaru's forces. Back with Naruto and co. Well, there he goes. Neji commented. Hinata will not be happy about this. What is going on? How is this possible? These questions and more were being asked by the surviving townsfolk as Naruto's army of clones fought a hard battle against the enemy's soldiers. Who the hell are you people? One of the officers asked Neji. He recognized him as the one who threatened Naruto earlier that day. Just some people trying to get away from constant war and wishing to live peaceful lives somewhere. Neji answered. Then how do you explain that? The man asked, pointing out the carnage below them. That is Naruto saving your lives, so stop asking questions and shut up unless you have something sensible to say. Neji answered. The man and those around him fell silent as they witnessed his combat prowess, recognizing that he outmatched them far beyond the capabilities of Akamaru's soldiers. Below, Naruto grunted as he evaded a club aimed at his head, only to be struck by the man's shield, which sent him sprawling. A nearby clone seized the man's club before it could be brought down on Naruto. A swift jab to the man's throat caused him to drop the club and clutch his injury. However, the clone was soon stabbed by a spear wielded by another adversary. Naruto retaliated by slashing at the spear wielder's hands before kicking the man who had been struck by his clone's jab, knocking him unconscious. Hearing footsteps behind him, Naruto rolled away but still sustained a minor cut along his left arm. Another clone intervened, stabbing a kunai beneath the swordsman's arm, where the armor was absent. Naruto took a moment to assess his surroundings. His clones and the enemy soldiers were engaged in a fierce melee, with his clones gradually gaining the upper hand. The whistling sound of incoming arrows drew his attention too late, resulting in injuries to his thigh and forearm. Observing that the arrows lacked barbed tips, Naruto pulled them out, suppressing his pain. Ignoring the discomfort, he performed a hand seal to reinforce his clones, and the battle continued until dusk. Naruto was later found by Neji, severely injured but alive and requesting a bowl of ramen. Neji assured that Naruto would be all right. The following morning, as the aftermath of the battle set in, both soldiers and civilians struggled with the grim sight of numerous corpses scattered across the battlefield. Cleanup operations commenced immediately, with every available person enlisted to dig mass graves or transport the deceased to the graves. Meanwhile, Kurakuma was engaged in a discussion with the local mayor regarding the unexpected arrival of reinforcements, but no answers were forthcoming. In a makeshift hospital in Kochir, Naruto was being bandaged after his reckless assault on the enemy forces. Neji managed to persuade Hinata to wait until the nurse finished before starting her lecture. $10 she'll rant for 10 minutes, Tuya remarked. 20 that the rant will last over 30, Neji countered, shaking hands on the bet. Hinata's lecture persisted for 4 hours, ending only when she fell asleep on top of Naruto. Tuya, exasperated, invented new expletives while handing Neji a handful of cash. The next morning, Kurokuma entered the room and observed the two dark-haired individuals first, their hair starkly contrasting with the white surroundings, followed by the red-haired woman in a wheelchair beside them. His gaze then settled on the blonde man in the bed adjacent to the dark-haired woman, recognizing him as the individual he sought. Before we begin, let me extend my gratitude for saving this town, Kurokuma said, bowing. I am Aizen Kurokuma Blackbear, warlord of these lands. Naruto recalled this first meeting with Kurokuma with a smile. Yggdrasil? What does that mean? Jiraiya inquired, puzzled, as Tsunade shared his confusion. It refers to a great tree from Kurokuma's ancestral land, Naruto explained. I asked him about it after he revealed his ambitions, following his rise through the ranks. Flashback, approximately 5 years ago. So, Blackbear? Naruto began, addressing Kurokuma by his real name rather than his title. I know you aim to unite the Western lands, but what will you name it? In the year following the Battle of Koshir, much had changed. Naruto and his companions were integrated into Kurokuma's army. Tuya, receiving the best medical care available, underwent several operations to regain most of the function in her legs, though full recovery would take another 2 years. Naruto and Neji were mentored by Kurokuma's generals, learning the art of war and leadership skills applicable to both military and civilian matters. Naruto excelled in these areas, while Neji surpassed him in combat skills. Naruto compensated by defeating Neji in every game of chess and Nefertafel, a game from Kurokuma's homeland. Hinata was tutored by Kurokuma's sister, who polished her court etiquette, despite Hinata frequently rejecting proposals from noble families. Eventually, Naruto proposed publicly, which Hinata gladly accepted. Shortly thereafter, Neji presented Naruto with a list of threats, requested by Hiashi, should Naruto break Hinata's heart. Karen and Tuya found the situation amusing, while Hinata awkwardly chuckled at Neji's additional list of threats as a cousin. Karen continued to refine her medical skills and was trained in defensive martial arts, becoming a combat medic. She gained significant experience treating wounds and PTSD, the latter being particularly challenging for her due to her own traumatic experiences. I will name it the Yggdrasil Empire, Kurokuma declared, taking a swig of mead. Yggdrasil? What does that mean? Naruto and Hinata asked. It is a tale handed down through my family since before our people were displaced from our ancestral homeland far to the north, a land where water turns to stone year-round, Kurokuma began, his tone somber. In that land, legend spoke of a tree so immense that it connected 9 worlds from its roots to its crown. This tree was known as Yggdrasil, the World Tree. He then glanced at Naruto, Hinata, Tuya, Neji, and the others present, some former adversaries, others recent allies, but all now considered friends. My vision for the Yggdrasil Empire is to serve a similar purpose, to unite all the peoples of the Western lands. Regardless of their race or culture, they will find a place within this empire, Kurokuma declared with pride. So, you aim to imbue the name with a sense of unity, hoping it will inspire people to rally around a common cause rather than be divided by individual warlords? Neji inquired. Precisely, Kurokuma replied with a smile. Naruto chuckled, raised his cup, and proposed a toast to the name, which was met with enthusiastic cheers from everyone in the room. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe to my channel for upcoming videos. With gratitude. Anime Octopus.